and I would say also, Pat, that is part of a narrative by mainstream media and the government and woke agencies of state to support the idea that there needs to be more censorship and that alternative views outside the mainstream are dangerous and they're all racists or white supremacists or idiots, And that is part of the narrative. And I spend most of my time in Wellington and talking, interacting with people in Wellington. That is the narrative that is being created by mainstream media. I was watching TV1 News last night, and they had 3 reporters lined up to talk about the upcoming budget. And they were all women. There's nothing wrong with that. But I thought, man, that doesn't look diverse. Where's the bloke? There were no blokes. We've got to have people of the right colour or the right gender or the right sexual orientation to show how woke we are. And no one's really worried about the messages they convey or whether or not they're fundamentally doing good jobs as journalists, broadcasters and communicators.
There's so much to unpack already in our conversation. But can I just ask you a very simple question? Because you've probably used it 12 times in our first.
Oh, woke. Yeah, minutes. I love that because it just pisses woke people off. I've hardly used it at all on the radio.
Sure. But all I'd like to know is, what do you mean by woke? Like, can you define that for me as you see it? So then I understand what you're talking about.
Okay. When I say woke, it is someone who engages in identitarian politics.
Yeah.
Who is intolerant of anyone who does not share the same soft left liberal views that they do, who is likely to scream racist. They're more likely to be white than Māori. They are likely to scream racist or offence on behalf of other people, on behalf of the poor, or peoples of different ethnicity. They will always take offence on someone else's behalf, on someone else's behalf. They are most likely from a comfortable middle-class background. They've had a good education. Their parents are earning good money, and they in their lives will probably never financially face any challenge whatsoever. And it gives them the luxury of being right all the time and despising people who gather on Parliament's lawn confused to have a protest. Right? That's essentially...
Okay.
Are you getting the picture?
Well,
and Barack Obama's used the term. He says... we've got that in one of our promos.
I'm not saying you shouldn't use the term. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it's good to understand what you mean by it, because people use words.
Someone who feels guilty that their grandfather had a farm that may have been Māori land and is going to write columns about how they've come to a new realization and New Zealand must deal with its past.
So here's the thing, what you've just described is probably 1/10 of 1% of the population, if that. I mean, that doesn't fit the. You mentioned the
get on
academics.
Social media, I'd say, and get inside the inner workings of the Labor Party and the power elite in Wellington, and it's 80% of them.
So I like to adhere to the Dave Chappelle
people who
standard.
put him and her on their pronouns on their social media profiles.
I understand what you're saying. It always seems ironic to me that the people who put him and
her
on their pronouns. So let's
add up all the people who get outraged and screamed racist. All the people who get offended about issues which they aren't personally involved in, all the people who put him and her on their pronouns, on their letterheads and in their social media. And I think we're getting more than just, 0.1% of the New Zealand population. So, and if the cap fits, wear it, right?
I don't necessarily agree with that.
And I'm not saying it about you.
No. Look, trust me. There's no way anyone could offend me if they did. I'm unoffendable. There's no issues with that, Sean. You've just kind of given another definition to it. So now the woke thing could be one of 40 categories from all the things. If you're saying you have to be all of these things to be woke, it's a very small percentage. If you're saying it can be any one of these things, so if someone's got him, her, then that means they're woke. If someone,
hang on, just let me silence this. Sorry, I just got.
Hey, that's not free speech. What are you silencing things for?
Sean? Oh, someone was calling me, and I was getting my phone going. Yeah.
Just don't let them know that you hung up on them, because they will be at you for censoring them at the wrong time, Sean. So what I'm saying is, if it's all of those 20 or 30 things you just listed as any one of these categories connected, you're woke. Or if it's all of them, you have to be all of these things combined. It's very small. Now, if someone puts him, her, look. I don't disagree with you necessarily about the he, her, him, her, because the thing about the him, her on my Twitter bio is not on mine, because I don't have it on mine. But
it's also people who got outraged about the Nadia Lim comments by Simon Henry without seeing the context.
As I was going to say, the him, her thing on Twitter bios, most people seem to put that up there who don't need to, because they are obviously male or female, and everyone would assume that they're him and her.
Yeah.
The people who are in that non-binary world or that transgender world, they don't typically seem to put those things on their Twitter.
No.
Some may. So look, I get it. But when you add all those things, so now it's almost the opposite. When you said your first list of things, if you were saying it needs to be all of these things, it's a very small percentage.
I didn't say you need to be all of those things.
That's why I'm clarifying, Sean. And if now you're saying it can be any one of these 20 categories, it might be 60% of the population. But then how that lead you to the idea that Christopher Luxon is a bit woke? Where does he fit into that description for you?
A bit woke, you see. So there's a graduation there. It's not black and white.
Sure.
He rejects some of the positions that Seymour takes. So Seymour is pushing him hard on issues like co-governance. Would seem to me that Luxon doesn't really want to engage in that debate.
So is Seymour the example that we want? Is Seymour the anti-woke example that you would hold up if you were writing a dictionary?
No, not particularly. But he occupies a part of the political spectrum, and he seems prepared. Though, look, he can be... I know that he is a guy who thinks quite hard politically and sometimes doesn't say what he thinks or moderates what he thinks for electoral purposes. I mean, he's a politician, so of course he's going to lie. I think he's trying to drag Luxon or guilt Luxon into not being hard line on things, but being more definitive about some of the cultural issues, if you like, abroad. And there's no doubt there's a culture war on, not just in New Zealand, but all over the world, and it's being fought largely through media or social media.
Give me an example of someone who's not woke then. Because it seems to me that, I'm not saying you've said this, that if you wanted to, you could find an
I don't think Michael Laws is woke. Michael Laws certainly isn't woke. Who else isn't woke? I don't think I'm particularly woke. I don't think Mike Hoskins is woke. I don't think Simon, if we talk about media people, I don't think Simon Dallow is woke.
Well, Simon Dellow's nothing. He's neither, because he don't. I don't mean nothing in a bad way. I love Simon. I've worked with him, but he doesn't give opinions.
He's a perfect newsreader. He's
neutral. Yeah.
So apparently he doesn't talk Leslie.
I don't know what that
means. He was once asked if he saw his ex-wife Alison Moore, if they bumped into each other or he bumped into her with her girlfriend at the kids' weekend sport, and he was quoted somewhere saying, "I don't talk to them. I don't speak Leslie."
Oh, okay.
Which is interesting, but. And he'd never put him, her in his pronouns. Who else isn't woke? I think there aren't many woke people in the National Caucus. There aren't many woke people in my office or on my broadcast team. But, okay, look, it is a term that I do not tend to apply unless there is a specific story to anyone specific. But I like it as a term, because we're talking about it and we're engaged and we're talking about the culture war. So in some ways it is a means to an end. But I'm okay with the word woke because Barack Obama is happy to use it. And Barack Obama has used it in the context of people who sit there active on social media or who virtue signal. That's the other part of wokeness, and go around saying, look at what I've done. Look at how cool and with it I am. Look at how tolerant I am. Look at how diverse I am.
Sean, you're an incredibly intelligent, gifted broadcaster and smart man and good businessman. But to be fair, to say that I'm okay with word X because person Y uses it is such a nonsense reason behind it. So are you okay with the N word? Are you going to use that because lots of high profile people use the N word? Are you going to be blasting that all over the place?
I don't think, and this isn't being woke, I think it is a word that has absolutely negative and terrible connotations. I know
pretty
that
woke to me.
Certain ethnicities use it. I wouldn't use the C word in polite company. You know, communist. I'd never say communist.
So you're moderating yourself.
I self-moderate, but I don't go around telling people that I wouldn't use the N word.
But one of the things you were saying about Seymour before was his self-moderation seemed to be a bit of a, he's not as good as he's, but you're self-moderating yourself there, Sean, on some level.
Oh, I'm trying, yeah. But also I don't want to moderate often. I want to engage people and outrage people.
Now that we've expanded this conversation around woke, I feel like probably, as per your definition, 99% of the community is woke now compared to the other, because they probably think it feels a little bit like what you're saying is, if you disagree,
it's a movable feast. It's a movable feast.
If you disagree with my perspective, exactly,
you're woke.
Then you're somewhat woke.
That's probably the best definition we can come up with. That if I disagree with you, you're woke. I like that.